Hi everyone, today I am going to show you the first Sanskrit grammar written in using English, which introduced the Western world to the Sanskrit language, which was done by Charles Wilkins in 1808. This is the original 1808 edition book, so it's a 200-year old Sanskrit book. So as we open it, you can see there is a library sticker which says Native Educational Institution. So we know uh, it was actually from a seminary where the book was before. So the seminary had kept it for like at least 120-50 years. So these are the end papers, and this is the title page, a Grammar of Sanskrita Language by Charles Wilkins, printed for the author in London by W. Bulmer and Co. Cleveland Road, St. James, and sold by Blackberry and Kingsbury booksellers to the Honorable East India Company of India. You can read here. Uh, 1808. So back then the books were dedicated to East India Company because this particular book had a major contribution of the Asiatic Society of India, which was that time there in Bengal and which still stands in Bengal. And Charles Wilkins had got a lot of funding and intellectual support from the Asiatic Society while the making of this book. He was also a member of Royal Society. So we see this is the first page, which is dedicated to the United Company of Merchants of England trading to East Indies. So you can see that this was that time, it was just the time around when the East India Company had started their endeavors in matters other than business. So their sole purpose in India earlier, or when they first came during the last part of the 18th century, was to conduct business. But during the beginning of the 19th century, they had set up courts in Calcutta, they set up the Asiatic Society. So there was a lot of archaeological projects which were going on that time, and there were also a lot of books which were being published about India, and this is one of those more than 200-year-old book. The pages, you can see, it's a more than 200-year-old page, so it is very. This is the preface. Which was written by the author in London in October 1808. This is the content page. In the preface, there is also information about Panchanan Karmakar, helping him out making the typography. So this is the book where the first Devanagari typography was published. So Devanagari came from manuscript to print form in books through this book, where the types were made. So the earlier process of printing was such that each letter had to be carved out in iron or wood, and they would use that to print every word by resetting the entire thing. So there was no copy machine and things like that, and there were no other technologies of printing as such. So this book is the first book where the Roman type and the Devanagari type has been used together. And as you can see in this book, it is Devanagari type is in the first stages of its existence itself, because type means something which is needs to be in the physical form. It cannot be a handwritten manuscript. So with respect to Devanagari type, you can see, and all these information which you can see, Sanskrit the Sanskrit vowels and alphabets and everything was first introduced to the British or and to the European world through this particular book. So this is how they came to decipher the language. This is the first chapter of the Grammar of Sanskrita Language, and you can see here. See, these are the first alphabets which were printed. So before this, there was no printed version of these letters, nor there was a printed book in Devanagari. So for that also need to credit Wilkins himself had made this book, and he was involved in the process of printing it, binding it, typing it, and he had actually made the first Devanagari type while he was in uh, England itself, but sadly that thing got caught fire, and because of that he came back to India, and with the assistance of Panchanan Karmakar, who is also the father of Bengali typography, he made this book. He helped him to carve out all these alphabets again in type, and with the help of that this book was finally made. So you can see how different this book looks. It would look like your modern paperback or hardcover, because it's literally a 200-year-old book, and here the pages are whiter. You'll get the content of the book today, you'll get a physical copy of it, but the thing is that this is a rare book. You won't find. I particularly found another copy of the same book in Mythic Society Library. So these are like available probably only in seminaries and Indian public libraries and the specialized libraries like Asiatic Society and Mythic Society. Otherwise, they are almost nowhere to be found, because it's not easy to find such a book, because this has come a long way. At the end of it, the end of the book, I'll show you. We again have this printed by W. Burman and Co., which was a famous printer during that time. And these are these are plates, copper plates. So these were engraved by J. Swan, who also engraved plates for a lot of books during that time. So the plate you see here, it's the first ka, kha, ga, gha printed like this. You have not would have read that in your Hindi book anywhere. This was the beginning. This was where it started more than 200 years ago, with these alphabets in Devanagari first getting published in this book. And we come to the end of the book. If I were to hold it and show you from front, you can see this Wilkins Sanskrita Language. And you can see this book is actually, this is a full calf. So during that time, books were not made using paper, cardboard, things like that. So inside it's cardboard, but the cover here, it's actually animal skin. And here you can see this raised bands which are there, and this is also tooled in here, Wilkins Sanskrita Grammar, and this part of it is colored, and this is the book. And you can see this gold border which is there in this book. So this was all for this video. I hope I was able to show you some important Indian antiquarian books. We always kind of regret whatever important historical uh, artifacts the British took away with them. And also there are a lot of people who would praise all the rare books available in the libraries abroad in UK and US, and they do have a really good collection. And the European libraries, they have a much more older tradition of antiquarian books, and they also started printing books quite early, whereas in India, colonization has a lot to do with books coming in print. So of course they do have a great collection, but in India there is a need for much more recognition from the people to understand the value of these books, which are Indian antiquarian books, and we possess them in our own libraries, and there should be an awareness and recognition and appreciation and awe on seeing these books. I hope this video has been able to uh, create some of that things which I am talking about. With this, we are ending this video. Thank you for watching.